Social media dominates many people's lives, especially my generation. Though it has many benefits in terms of keeping the world connected, it can also be a major barrier to communication. People are so busy on their phones or laptops that they're not communicating with those around them. I don't see my brother very often because he lives in Belfast, but when he is home, he is constantly on his phone. My mom is always telling him to be present. I feel like saying that to my friends when they are constantly on their phones and laptops when I'm trying to talk to them. Be present. Whoever's on the other end can wait. Be in the here and now. I'm under the impression that social media is great as long as you can be social when you're off it. And of course, if you're not glued to it constantly. We all do the addictive scroll, even when we're trying to talk to each other. You can't see it, but that's called the 100-meter scroll, and I'm not sure if it's a real game, but I really want to play it. When people are off social media, I find that all they can talk about is what is on it, or what they were doing on their various devices, which isn't very good. I was at a 21st birthday party recently, and all they could talk about was anime, and I don't like anime. And anime, in case you don't know, is Japanese cartoons. And I don't know why, but I'm always friends with people who like them, even though I don't. And I found that all they talk about is anime. I also, however, found another major barrier to communication. I am an introvert, meaning that I'm a bit shy, and I find that extroverts who are more outgoing take over the conversation a lot of the time, especially when I'm in a group. Because of this, I have less opportunity to talk, which has resulted in my communication skills deteriorating. And I've left in the background a lot of the time. And I find it incredibly difficult to talk to my friends about my problems. This has led me to have some mental health issues from bottling things up all of the time. I fear I'm not alone in this either. How are we supposed to talk about the serious stuff when we can't even talk about trivial things? The number one cause of suicide, and I'm sorry to mention it, is undiagnosed depression. How are we supposed to be able to say, I'm not feeling okay, when we can't even talk about it, when we can't even have a conversation? One psychological cause of mental illness is a poor ability to relate to others. It is therefore vital to teach conversation skills. When I told my brother, who was great really, he didn't tell me to tell you that, that I was picked to do this speech, he sent me an incredible TED Talk by Celeste Headley called 10 Ways to Have a Better Conversation. And everyone should watch it later. It's really, really good. So in it, she talks about an article she read, and it was written by a high school teacher named Paul Barnwell. He gave his kids a communication project. He wanted to teach them how to speak on a specific subject without using notes. And he said this: I came to realize that conversational competence might be the single most overlooked skill we fail to teach. Kids spend hours each day engaging with ideas and each other through screens, but rarely do they have the opportunity to hone their interpersonal communication skills. And I've lost my place on the page. It might sound like a funny question, but we have to ask ourselves, is there any 21st century skill more important than being able to sustain coherent, competent conversation? While my family and I were in Mayo last summer, we were in a very nice restaurant and we were having a great laugh and a great conversation. And there was a family beside us, and the kids were probably about 4 and 6, so they were a young family, and the kids were both on iPads, and their parents were both on their phones. And there was no conversation at all between them. What is the world coming to, that we can't even sit down and have a proper conversation with our family? There was a survey in the paper on Sunday, and it said that 48% of kids spend more time on phones and devices and looking at screens than they do playing. This is absolutely ridiculous. They're kids. They're supposed to be playing. On to my proposals, which are mainly just due to college things, but they're not marriage proposals, they're just proposals. So they're pretty simple, really. I would like to suggest having a conversation hub in every college specifically for conversation. No Wi-Fi, no phones or laptops allowed. I know that's shocking, but yeah, there has to be somewhere we have to go to just have a conversation. So to combat my own deteriorating ability to communicate, I am actually attending a communication course in DCU at the moment, and I find it very helpful. And I think that these should be available across the board to help people who are losing the art to find it again. And I also hope to set up a society in DCU, Mater Day is a college of DCU, it's hard to explain, called Get Connected, where people can go to socialise with new people to try and prevent this precious art from being lost. So thanks very much. And